emotional picture.
I love it. That is a good hug. That is a double arm hug. The tuck under the shoulder. You want to feel the embrace. I like this picture, and I like that he tweeted this because this does put everything into perspective for the fact that Dak is a human being. This is what he does for a living. We all have jobs.
Dream came true.
He held strong. He did whatever, like everyone in the business was telling him, just take the deal, take less money, and he got everything that he wanted in the contract. I'm surprised that he was able to get it done with the Cowboys. I always knew Dak was going to get paid, but I didn't know that the Cowboys were ever going to budge because it went on for so long. It was like, what are the Cowboys really trying to do here? Like, what are they going to do without Dak also?
Well, that's why when I woke up from my nap and saw the story, I thought it was fake.
Yeah.
When I saw the numbers, I thought, okay, this is one of those fake Glazer, fake Shefty, somebody trying to pretend they're Jay Glazer.
Someone retweeted a meme account and then it went viral.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, okay, it's one of these people trying to be a fake reporter because I thought he got everything. The first story I read, I'm like, he got everything. He got all the years, the money, the guaranteed everything.
Good for him. And I think that the Cowboys, while there's all this talk about what they're going to do with the defense and, how do they get better, their offensive line ranked 27th by Pro Football Focus last year. 27th.
Well,
so they're living off reputation. When we think of the Dallas offensive line, some of us still think of them as that unit that was in place when Dak was a rookie and Zeke was a rookie. Not so anymore.
No.
So that's really the unit that needs to be focused on by the Dallas Cowboys this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, the best offensive line is the Colts. Cleveland's probably, in my opinion, second.
Green Bay is up there.
Green Bay, they always have a good O-line. I think New England's O-line, they're young in a couple spots. I think New England's O-line's pretty good. I think the Raiders is underrated. I think when it's healthy, Kansas City with Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher is really good. But Dallas is not, I don't think Dallas is near the top 5 anymore.
I mean, Pro Football Focus has them 27th. Like, they're very far down.
Yeah.
They're one of the worst in the league, actually. And that's something that the Cowboys need to focus on. A lot of people don't feel like Dak is over-the-top talented to deserve this money. And what's happened with Zeke, it's very easy. Pay attention to the offensive line. That's why Russell Wilson is such a unique situation. It's difficult for quarterbacks to have success when they have a bad offensive line.
It's almost impossible. Andrew Luck.
Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league and couldn't get anything done in the Super Bowl because his offensive line wasn't intact.
That's exactly what happened. That tells you everything. Patrick Mahomes couldn't score a touchdown in the Super Bowl because they were missing a good, not a superstar left tackle, a good left tackle. That tells you about what you need in this league.
And it should tell you that Dak does have the ability to win and play at a high level in this league, but he can't do it. He can't do what Russell Wilson does. And Russell Wilson can't even do what Russell Wilson does. That's why Russell Wilson is upset. He wants an offensive line, too. Yeah. So Carson Wentz is getting a fresh start with the Colts this year, who have a great offensive line. He's already familiar with his new coach, Frank Reich, from their time together in Philly. And his former teammate, Jason Peters, thinks that teaming up with Reich, again, is exactly what Wentz needs to get back to his MVP level of play.
One thing I do know about Frank, he's going to put Carson in the best position. He's not going to let him just go out there, have bad mechanics, or just go out there and throw bad balls. So I think Frank's going to bring the best out of Carson because I've seen it when we were on the Super Bowl run. Them two that was great together, and that's a good fit for Carson, I think. He's going to get back to his MVP caliber of play.
Weren't you and I both shocked how good Phillip Rivers was last year?
Yes.
I mean, that to me. So my takeaway is Phillip Rivers, who was so slow, he quit. He retired. He loves football. He's like, okay, I'm done. Went 11-5. I mean, so between Reich and that offensive line, it is mystifying to me how many people are like, I don't know if it's going to work. It's going to work. The question
I think it's going to work.
How much?
How much? And I think it's on Carson Wentz. All the pressure is on Carson Wentz. You have everything that you need now to be successful.
Go do it.
It's not a dysfunctional situation. You have Frank Reich. You're comfortable with him. You have a great offensive line. This idea that Carson, no one has ever gotten more credit for winning an MVP that they didn't win. It's like everyone harkens back to this season. Like Carson Wentz was the runaway MVP through 13 games. Tom Brady won the MVP that season. His numbers were better through 13 games than Carson Wentz. In every statistical category. Not every statistical category, but they had better completion percentage, more yards. He didn't have as many touchdowns, 27 touchdowns with 6 interceptions, and a higher passer rating through 13 games. Tom Brady did. So So this like elevation of Carson Wentz to like as if he won the MVP. He did not. Tom Brady won it and had better numbers through 13 games. And I think that this is the moment that Carson Wentz has to prove that he is, like you just listed, he's more talented than these other guys, than Dak, than Matt Ryan, than Kirk Cousins, than Ryan Tannehill. Go do it.
Yeah,
I want to see what happens now.
Yeah, I mean, he had a really bad year. I'm giving him a chaos pass. But listen, there's no excuses. I mean, that offense has a star back now, Jonathan Taylor, great O-line.
Wide receivers.
Yeah, Michael Pittman's ended up being a star. Maybe they need a tight end, but if you can't, and that division's kooky. It's not like it's not a winnable division. I don't have to face Rodgers or Mahomes.
Nobody besides Tampa Bay and Kansas City has pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Those two teams. Well, and Tampa Bay might not this year because they have a lot of free agents to sign. So Joe Burrow looked great in his rookie year before suffering a season-ending knee injury in Week 11. The Bengals are very confident they have their franchise quarterback, as they should be. And Director of Player Personnel, Duke Tobin, is working to bring in players to support Burrow going forward. He said, I think we have one of the premier best young quarterbacks in the game, and we're going to do everything we can to build around him. It's going to start with him.
I like their receivers. I'd go O-line again.
They have the 5th pick in the draft, and they have $41 million in cap space, which is the 5th most in the NFL.
So Jonah Williams is a good O-lineman. I would go get the kid from Northwestern, Slater, that can do, why am I forgetting his name? Rashawn Slater. He can do guard or tackle. So and to me, this league isn't complicated. Find a quarterback, protect quarterback, draft guys who can get their quarterback. So I would go back to the O-line. I like their receivers, actually. I thought
you really like the Bengals next year.
For the first time in my life, somebody is going to shock us in the league next year.
Every year it happens.
Okay. You tell me the team.
I don't know that I'm ready to dip my toe in the Bengals water.
All right.
I love Joe Burrow. Loved Joe Burrow before the draft. Team Joe Burrow, 100%.
Okay.
They have the 5th pick in the draft. They had the 30th ranked offensive line according to Pro Football Focus last year, and he was sacked 32 times. That's the third most in the NFL through Week 11. So obviously the offensive line is the number one priority for the Cincinnati Bengals. Sign a veteran offensive lineman that's available, draft them. That should be your focus because you are still a few years away from actually contending. The only reason why I have hesitation, other than all the work they have to do on the offensive line, is that division is so tough. Baker Mayfield, another year with Kevin Stefanski, bringing back essentially the same team. I don't know what the Steelers are going to do. I don't have a lot of confidence in them, but they did win the division last year with Ben Roethlisberger. So, and you have the Ravens. So I look at the division first when I start talking about what team is going to surprise us, and that's the only thing that gives me hesitation.
That's going to be one of those dorky things on Twitter where you have those polls. I want to do that this week.
Which team do you think will surprise you?
Somebody's going to shock us. Okay, so who's it going to be?
Well, okay, so what's shock? They didn't make the playoffs last year and they will this year?
Yeah, like.
So I think Arizona.
But they were 8-8. If they went,
but they didn't make the playoffs.
That doesn't feel shocking. That feels improving.
Okay, so it's got to be.
That's your homework assignment tomorrow.
Okay.
Cincinnati is my early leader in the. Oh my God, they made the playoffs.
No. You think the Bengals are going to make the playoffs?
I think if they shore up the offensive line. When I watched that shootout with Cleveland, I sat there and I was like, holy crap. They just got to protect this kid. Everybody's like, oh, Cleveland won. Cleveland, sure, they got way better players. When I watched that shootout against I sat and watched that whole thing, I was just like, oh my God.
I mean,
by the way, they blew out Tennessee. They had these moments last year. You were like,
they had moments.
They don't have any players. How are they doing this?
I want to see what they do in the offseason because they do have a lot of cap space. If they're aggressive and bring in a couple veterans, I got to think about it. Let me give me some homework time.
Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line News.
It is interesting. There were two stories yesterday in the last couple of days that I think have changed the top of the draft. One is Jalen Hurts, the owner for the Eagles, said he's our guy. So Philadelphia's not taking a quarterback at 6. That's the right move, in my opinion. A lot of people had them taking a quarterback. They'll take a receiver. The second thing is Dak's contract. To me, Dallas now has to go defense because they got too much money on offense. You don't want, like, you get into a problem in this league when you got, like, Cleveland's got all their money on offense. Cleveland's defense stinks. You want to balance it out, right? Dallas, remember, when Russell Wilson signed that big deal in Seattle